Shivaya. Narayanam namaskrutyam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudhiraye nashtaprayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naistiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 21 and Text 41. Matta dvija ganaihi gustam matta dvija ganair gustam matta brahmara vibramam matta brahmara vibramam matta barhi nata atopam matta barhi natatopam ahvayan matta kokilam ahvayan matta kokilam matta dvijaganair gushtam matta brahmara vibramam matta barhi natatopam ahvayan matta kokilam. Matta, overjoyed, dvija, of birds, ganaihi, by flocks, gustam, resounded, matta, intoxicated, brahmara, of bees, vibramam, wandering, matta, maddened, barhi, of peacocks, nata, of dancers, atopam, the matta, merry, kokilam, cuckoos. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swamy Srila Prabhupada. Translation: the area resounded with the notes of overjoyed birds, intoxicated bees wandered there, intoxicated peacocks proudly danced, and merry cuckoos called one another. Please repeat. The area resounded with the notes of overjoyed birds, intoxicated bees wandered there, intoxicated peacocks proudly danced, and merry cuckoos called one another. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The beauty of the pleasant sounds heard in the area surrounding Lake Bindu Sarovara is described here. After drinking honey, the black bees became maddened and they hummed in intoxication. Merry peacocks danced just like actors and actresses, and merry cuckoos called their mates very nicely. Next 42 and 43, I will read it by myself. Kadamba champaka shoka karanja bakulashanai kundamandara kutajais chutapotair alankrutam karandavai plavair hamsai kurarai jalakukkutai Sarasaischakravakaischa Chakorair Valgukujitam. Translation: Lake Bindu Sarovara was adorned by flowering trees such as the Kadamba, Champaka, Ashoka, Karanja, Bakula, Asana, Kunda, Mandara, Kutaja, and young mango trees. The air was filled with the pleasing notes of Karandava ducks, plovers, swans, ospreys. Bindu Sarovara Lake. English synonyms cannot be found. All the trees mentioned are very pious in that they produce a nice aromatic flower such as the Champaka, Kadamba and Bakula. The sweet sounds of waterfall and cranes made the surrounding area as pleasant as possible and created a very suitable spiritual atmosphere. The Sanskrit Bhaktivedanta purport: Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Dasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. These are the descriptions about the surroundings of Lake Bindu Sarovara. We can see there is a jubilation in the environment. All the birds, bees, cuckoos, they're all intoxicated. Matta, they're very proudly they're dancing, moving about. Matta dvijaganair gustam, overjoyed birds. In some place, Prabhupada explains that even a bird is called dvija, twice born. The first birth is like an egg comes out, that's the first birth. And from the egg, one more birth happens. So that's why a bird is called twice born. Some people think that there is no life in the egg, but actually according to Srimad Bhagavatam, egg is already first birth of the bird. That means there is already a life, just waiting for few more days for the second birth. So here you can see the birds are called as dvija, dvijaganair. Flocks of birds are gustam. They are making very nice, pleasing notes. Matta brahmara vibramam, the bees surrounding areas of the lake, and like Kadamba, Champaka, Ashoka, Karanja, Bakula, Asana, Kunda, Mandara, Kutaja, young mango trees. Kutaja generally Sri Lanka, but they are available. And then Karandavai Plavair Hamsai. Also there are many other birds like Karandava ducks, plovers, swans, ospreys, waterflock, cranes and chakravakas and chakoras. Most of the modern people, they don't know any of these, even if you try to explain. We have forgotten all these pious plants and trees and birds. So it is actually it is interesting to see how in the Niti Shastra there are descriptions about these birds. They explain what we can learn from these birds and from their activities. For example, it is said that the cuckoos, it is said that tavan maunena niyante kokilaischaiva vasarai Yava sarva janananda dayini vak pravartate. So it is said that the kokilas, they wait for several seasons. They remain silent till it comes to springtime, Vasanta Rutu, and then only they start singing very nicely. And then that will Sarva Jana Ananda, that will be very pleasing too, that will impart joy to everyone. So here the moral science is that one should open his mouth only when his words are valued. Or one should open his mouth only for speaking valuable things. So otherwise, Mauna is better. For devotees, there are so many valuable things to speak. So for devotees, Mauna means to speak only about Krishna, to speak only about Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Mauna. Otherwise, there is no place for Mauna in a preaching moment. We are part of a preaching movement. We are supposed to preach. So there is no question of Mauna here. So then it is also mentioned what satisfies a peacock. So here it is mentioned, Tushyanti bhojane vipra mayura ganagarjite sadava parasampattau kala para vipattishu. Brahmanas are satisfied with a fine meal. Brahmanas means they are satisfied, happy with a fine meal. That's why it's called their bhojana priya, Brahman bhojan. They are happy. Then the peacocks are jubilant when there is a thunder, clap of thunder. Then sadhavaha parasampattau. Sadhus will become happy by seeing prosperity of others. If somebody is growing in their life, they are becoming prosperous, a real sadhu becomes happy. And then kala, but the wicked people, they will be happy by seeing the miseries of others. If others are in miserable condition, wicked people will become very happy. These are the moral instructions. So we can see these, although generally kokilas wait for springtime, but here Bindu Sarovara, all the seasons they are jubilant. It's a different atmosphere, completely suitable for spiritual practices. There is one more interesting point Prabhupada makes. He says here there are so many flowers, trees, fruits, birds are mentioned, but that there are no English synonyms. English version is not available. English synonyms are not available. Of course, there is always a discussion on our mother tongue versus or vis-a-vis English. Sometimes in our country we see the debates going on whether we should promote this or promote that. While these discussions have some political intentions, it is a fact that English has limitations. After all, it has evolved in the last 2000 years. It is a man-made language, and English words are taken from many cultures. For example, Jagannath and Jagannath, there is a word taken. So like that, there are many words are collected and then included in the language. That way English is trying to be all-inclusive. And it is said that to express ourselves, how many words are there in English? there is an estimate that there are about 5 lakh words are there in English. 5 lakh. Of course, these words are also increasing every other day. But at a certain point of time when they calculated, English has about 5 lakh words. And then at that time, Sanskrit has roughly 7.4 crores. That many words. 5 lakhs and 7 crores, 7.4 crores words are there to express the various scenarios, to express the reality, to express our feelings, to express everything that is possible to be expressed. Sanskrit has 7.4 crore. So that means English only has 5 lakhs. So that means if you want to express the Sanskrit words into English, obviously there will be limitations. Actually, Prabhupada mentions this limitation when he was writing Srimad Bhagavatam purports. He mentions that it's very interesting. We should hear from Srila Prabhupada. He says, due to the age of Kali, which we have discussed, there is always a chance of quarrel on slight provocation. Even for small things, there is a provocation and people fight. Even for small things. For 1 rupee, we see people fighting and taking lives. 1 rupee, 5 rupee, 10 rupee. In Nirmal district, I heard one incident. Just on the point of volume of the sound. Same, like sometimes we also have sound issues. There is one marriage party and there is a sound issue, and you can't believe one man was killed. The provocation went up to so much level. So slight provocation, there is a chance. This is due not to the issue in question. It's not because of that issue. That is only 1 rupee, 5 rupee, this to that. A very small issue actually. It's not because of that issue, but because of polluted atmosphere of this age. And what is this pollution? It's not again air pollution, water pollution, no. Prabhupada is saying, systematically there is propaganda by a section of people to stop glorification of the name and fame of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is a systematic propagation to stop this glorification of the Supreme Lord. Actually, if you want to understand how this atmosphere is so polluted, you write one nice interesting article and say you glorify the deity worship, how the Lord can appear as a deity. You will see immediately some 100 people criticizing. You post something in the YouTube, then you will immediately see many people saying this. So systematically there is an attempt to stop this. So therefore there is a great need for disseminating the message of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. And then Prabhupada says, it is the duty of every responsible Indian to broadcast the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the world, to do all the supermost good, as well as to bring about the desired peace in the world. Prabhupada is saying, Bhagavatam is saying, Chaitanya Charitamrita is saying, it is the responsibility of the Indians to promote and propagate these messages of Srimad Bhagavatam, so that there are 2 results. One is to do supermost good as well as to bring the peace. And then Prabhupada is saying, because India has failed in her duty by neglecting this responsible work, there is so much quarrel and trouble all over the world. Why there is so much of trouble in the world? Prabhupada is saying, because India has neglected her duty. Indians have neglected Bhagavatam, Indians have neglected Bhagavad Gita, and then stopped propagating. So then Prabhupada is saying, we are confident that if the transcendental message of Bhagavatam is received only by the leading men of the world, certainly there will be a change of heart. Because mass of people, in general, they are tools in the hands of modern politicians and leaders of the people. So if there is a change of heart of the leaders only, then there will be a radical change in the atmosphere. Then Prabhupada is saying, we know that our honest attempt to present this great literature, conveying transcendental messages for reviving the God consciousness of the people in general and re-spiritualizing the world atmosphere, is fraught with many difficulties. Prabhupada is saying that writing Srimad Bhagavatam in order to propagate the messages of the Almighty Lord, it's not an easy path, there are many difficulties. And then he says, our presenting this matter in adequate language, especially a foreign language, that is English, will certainly fail. And there will be so many literary discrepancies despite our honest attempt to present it in the proper way. So Prabhupada is saying, still we may honestly try, but it will fail. Obviously, see, for example, here, not easy to express what is there in the, in the Sanskrit shloka. In one place in Sanskrit, it is mentioned about many jalpas, 8 or 9 prajalpa, kujalpa, so many jalpas. And Prabhupada says, prajalpa means gossiping, and other jalpas we don't have English equivalents. Because so difficult to express these things. So obviously there will be many faults. But we are sure that with all our faults in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration. And the leaders of society will accept due to its being a honest attempt to glorify the Almighty Lord. So then Prabhupada says, how will they accept? Then he says, when there is a fire in a house, the inmates of the house go out to get help from the neighbors who may be foreigners. And yet, without knowing the language, the victims of the fire express themselves and the neighbors understand the need, even though not expressed in the same language. Let us say 2 houses are there. One house is on the fire, and the neighbors are they are foreigners, but still they will be able to express their need. And then then Prabhupada is saying, the same spirit of cooperation is needed to broadcast this transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the polluted atmosphere of the world. After all, it is a technical science of spiritual values, and we are concerned with the techniques and not with the language. It is the techniques of this great literature are understood by the people of the world, there will be success. So Prabhupada is saying Bhagavatam is full of techniques. The spiritual values are mentioned here. And if these techniques and spiritual values are understood by the people in general, then certainly there will be a change in the polluted atmosphere. Then Prabhupada went on to say, what is this pollution? When there are too many materialistic activities by the people in general all over the world, there is no wonder that a person or a nation attacks another person or nation on the slight provocation. This is the problem. The atmosphere is already polluted with corruption of all description, and everyone knows it well. There are so many unwanted literatures full of materialistic ideas of sense gratification. In many countries, there are bodies appointed by the state to detect and censure obscene literature. This means that neither the government nor the responsible leaders of the public want such literature, yet it is in the marketplace because people want it for sense gratification. So under the circumstances, transcendental literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam will not only diminish the activities of the corrupt mind of the people in general, but also it will supply food further hankering after reading something interesting. So this is the challenge in front of us. One has to understand that we are living in a polluted atmosphere. There are many organizations investing crores and crores of rupees in order to popularize contaminated content. Now there is a global content available in so many social channels. And it is said that every second the thousands and thousands of videos are uploaded into that channel. Now can you believe what that organization has to do to safeguard this content? Protect it for years together and then again make it available whenever it is required. Now what kind of an organization? Such huge organizations are being built. It is said that they occupy kilometers of acres to store all those content and data in America and many other places. So such gigantic organizations are available today, and most of the content that it is disseminating is simply polluting the atmosphere. Now what is that pollution? Continuously the mind is being distracted to sense gratification. Continuously there is a propaganda to believe that sense gratification is the ultimate goal of life. Continuously there is a brainwashing that is going on to make us believe that sense gratification is the only value in the life. Earning money and use it for sense gratification, this has become the rule of the day. Everybody is simply behind money. And then why money? Because it can bring sense gratification. This is the value of the society today. By such values, then the result will be, even for slight provocation, there will be big quarrels. Because everybody is geared up for sense gratification and the resources are limited. So one party wants it for its own sense gratification. The other party is also wanting it for its own sense gratification. So obviously they are enemies. There is a competition. There is an enmity between nation to nation, person to person, and there will be quarrels. If the other person is taking little more initiative to get that resource, then immediately this person will become very upset. He will be very unhappy, and then he will try to do all kinds of things to stop the other person. Now this is the kind of scenario that is going on. Everybody is in the mood of exploiting one another, exploiting the resources without any limit. This is the issue. So in such an atmosphere, there is an imbalance of values. Imbalance. Too much focus, value is been given for sense gratification. For something which has no value, they are creating big value for that. By spending crores of rupees, millions of dollars, just for creating value for something which has no value or a very little value. According to Shastra, the sense gratification is called tucham. It is actually very insignificant. The enjoyment that is available, but what is available is only 1 paisa, but you are seeing 1 crore there, then you are in illusion. This is the problem. So that's why, to offset this, we need to present something really valuable, which is actually really valuable, and then by understanding the real value, then people can balance, these values will become balanced. Now too much value here has to be shifted to something really valuable, and that is the purpose of disseminating Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is presenting the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is presenting the name and fame of the Supreme Lord. There is so much value for the Harinam that we are promoting and presenting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So that's why Prabhupada is saying there should be super cooperation in order people should know that they are misled by insignificant value things. They should know. And but unless you show them an alternative, something you really which is valuable, then people cannot change. So that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said Amala Puranam, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada is saying it is a duty of all of us to learn this Srimad Bhagavatam systematically. If we don't understand this Bhagavatam, then who is there to understand? If Lord Chaitanya's followers, they do not propagate Bhagavatam, then who else will propagate this? If the devotees of Prabhupada, of Lord Chaitanya, they don't take Srimad Bhagavatam seriously, then who else will take seriously? So that's why we should have great value. We should have greatest value for the words of Srimad Bhagavatam. And so actually each word has so much of significance. You have to spend time on Dvijaganair, Brahmara, Barihi, Kokila, Kadamba, Champaka. Spend time, give value. The way to read Bhagavatam is you have to give value to each and every word. You have to read Sanskrit. You have to read word to word meaning. You have to read translation and then purport. You cannot skip any of these things. Although language is not important, primary importance is not for the Sanskrit language, but because it is part of Bhagavatam, it is very important. By the by, you may learn some little Sanskrit also. It's not that to progress in spiritual life, we need a lot of Sanskrit. We should know poetry. We should know some nice meters, rhyming parameters. Not required. What is required is your feeling. Krishna, I am trying my best, not able to. There are so many distractions. Maya is distracting me. I want to progress. I want to advance. Not able to do. My Lord, I am surrendering to you. Please save me. That feeling that comes from your heart, that is more important than very nice articulation, very nice, wonderful speaking capacity. Those things will help if you are explaining Bhagavatam and all that, but that's not the criteria for our relationship with the Supreme Lord. Krishna, he understands your bhava, your feelings, and that's all. He reciprocates immediately. Okay, so but then these Bhagavatam descriptions will give us an idea how we can relate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's why we should read Bhagavatam systematically. We are going to start that in the next few days. We are all going to be on a journey to learn Srimad Bhagavatam very nicely. And then if the devotees learn nicely and then present it feelingly, that's all. The whole contaminated atmosphere will change. Each devotee will become instrumental in changing thousands and thousands of people, and that should be our goal. Any questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Prabhu.
Yeah.
In the beginning you mentioned that the sadhu should be happy by seeing others prosper.
Yeah.
So sometimes we see that others prosper in a negative way, not positive way. They accumulate wealth through some negative means. So the question is how sadhu will perceive that. And second question is, the ultimate offering to the Supreme Lord is the ultimate application of such prosperity. So for offering for the Mandir Nirman Seva, other Sevas and all. So Lord will bless them with spiritual credit and devotional service, them and their family and all. But exactly what happens to them?
Basically, one is supposed to acquire his health, his wealth in a proper way. It's called satovritti. If one wants to advance in Krishna consciousness, one's occupation should be honest and then accumulate his wealth by honest means. And when people advance like that, prosper like that, sadhus are happy. Sadhus are called, they are also dukhi. This is sadhu. A Vaishnava is paradukha dukhi. And when they are prospering, yes, we are also happy. And then either they are prospering or not prospering. We have no, in fact, if they are not having any proper means to survive also, we try to help them out by our feeding programs and many other things. We have no discrimination, but we are happy to see others are happy. So only wicked, they feel bad when somebody else is progressing. So a devotee should not have that kind of a mood. So if somebody is having wealth, the proper way of spending that wealth is, he has to give that money to Krishna. Why he has to give that money to Krishna? But because you are thinking that it is all mine, to change that thinking, a little bit you start giving. Actually everything is Krishna's only. If you go and say, all your money is Krishna's only, you will become very, this thing, okay, you give little bit. So when he starts giving to Krishna, he feels a certain pleasure. He feels a certain purification. Yes, it all belongs to Krishna. That genuine understanding that it belongs to Krishna, that is called renunciation. It's a big advancement for the jiva. Very, very big advancement. Actually, somebody gives money, hard-earned money, very big seva. So that's why this preaching, in order to, make people contribute only. So this is the understanding. And we encourage everybody to contribute to the capacity that is possible for him.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
My respectful obeisances for the wonderful
Hare Krishna.
Srimad Bhagavatam class. I have two questions, but they are not directly concerned with today's studies, but it's still on the issue of progress, spiritual progress. The two questions. Number one is mukti or moksha, liberation. In my early days, when I started reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, I'll come across statements like this: whosoever hears these great prayers that Brahma offered to Krishna and recites it or retell it to another person, immediately will attain liberation. Whosoever, retells the story of Krishna to another person, automatically will attain liberation. I come across these kind of statements. So I wanted you to explain, maybe everybody knows except me, to me, what this mukti, liberation is. Is it instantaneous, or is it, something that is gradual, or what does these statements actually mean? Then number two question is, I come across this statement by Prabhupada that when we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, it's like seeing Krishna face to face. Should it be taken literally, or does it have a second meaning? Because when we're chanting, he said, you seeing Krishna. It's like seeing you. Okay, exactly, now I can see you.
Yeah.
Okay, does it mean that I will see Krishna because I'm not actually seeing Krishna? The same way I'm seeing you right now. So what does that statement mean, please?
Yeah. Actually, when we are chanting, of course, a pure devotee will have an absolute understanding. So when we are chanting and hearing, when we are chanting, for example, Prabhupada says, the Lord is, along with the internal potency, is dancing on the tip of our tongue when we are chanting. And then when we hear attentively, we are again touching the Lord. The Lord is, entering into the ears and reaching our heart. So when you touch the Lord, either by eyes or by ears, it is same. In an absolute platform, there is no difference between seeing and hearing. So if a devotee with devotion he hears the holy name, when the Lord is, that Shabda is touching the ears, so there is no difference between that hearing and you are actually having darshan of Krishna. But somehow in our regular life we have great value for seeing than for hearing. There is a extreme value that is given to actually seeing with the eyes. That's why we don't feel that presence of the Lord in the form of sound and we are touching Him. So that's why Prabhupada is repeatedly saying, when you chant and hear, you are seeing the Lord personally, face to face. We are actually touching the Lord, we are actually perceiving the Lord. So perceiving with the ears or perceiving with the eyes is all the same. After all, you are perceiving the Lord. So that is the understanding. That perception of the Lord becomes more and more, practical and perceivable for us as we go on chanting. We develop the perception of the Lord as soon as we hear that sound vibration. So that's why on the transcendental platform there is no difference, and that's why Prabhupada says that. And secondly, when we are studying, say, Bhagavatam, in many places it is said that when you read this particular pastime, when you chant this prayer, you will get liberated. There are many things are happening here. One is, when you are absorbed in reading Bhagavatam, you should know you are already liberated as long as you are absorbed in that Srimad Bhagavatam. Absorption in Srimad Bhagavatam can happen only after liberation. The other way around, if you are absorbed, that means you are already liberated. There is no influence of Maya on you at that time. But then what happens as soon as we are out of this? Our subconscious, where all the previous impressions are all stored, our chittam is not purified, so it takes over. The regular consciousness takes over, and again we start struggling. So the key to liberation is keep yourself in the fire of Bhagavatam, or in the holy name, or in the service. When you are doing service, you are absorbed, you should know you are liberated. There is no influence of Maya at that time. So, but then, let us say I am in the fire, but I am out of the fire for some time. Will that lead me to moksha? Yes. Automatically, when you are in the fire, it's not just moksha, but also there is some positive thing that is happening to you. Moksha means free from influence of Maya. That's moksha. We're not talking about that. When you are in the fire of Krishna consciousness, there is a positive taste that you are developing. There is something very positive is building up in your chittam. And when the taste increases, step by step, then you will see one day other things will become pale. Automatically they will become very pale. This is the secret. How you can minimize the importance of all these weeds, all these other attractions of this world. Now currently they have very big value. So much big value that when we are chanting, we give attention to that than to holy name. This is our problem. We have so much big value for all such thought processes. But then when you have a little taste for this chanting, little feeling for this chanting, even if there is a big overwhelming thought comes, you will not, you don't like to divert your attention. Let us say you have a big laddu in front of you, then somebody is going with some little laddu, you will not get attracted. That's the phenomena. We have to reach to that level. Reaching taste is not easy. In between, before that, there is a phase called anartha nivrutti. Anartha has to go. All the anarthas have to become minimized. They have to go. That anartha nivrutti, if the devotee is serious, it will happen very quickly. Otherwise, it will take time. But this process is infallible. It cannot fail. Sometimes we may be serious, sometimes we may not be serious, but it's okay. You stick on to this process, and although we may not like, read Bhagavatam, chant our rounds, slowly our jaundice will go. Prabhupada gives this example, no? If a jaundice patient, you give the sugar cane, he will not feel it tasteful, but go on doing it. Eat. So actually, all the Goswamis and Acharyas say, Srimad Bhagavatam is so nectarian, full of nectar and ecstatic, but we don't feel. Initially, there could be some fire. When we are reading for the first time, we're all excited. Yes, and we want to read. Sometimes they skip all this Sanskrit and this and that. They'll read only translation to know the story. So like that, somehow our life should be dedicated to Srimad Bhagavatam and Mahabhagavata, Prabhupada. Then our life is successful. Only Bhagavatam can save us. And one beautiful statement is there in Bhagavatam. Just by reading Bhagavatam, it is said that nastaprayeshu abhadreshu. What is harassing you in our heart? The restlessness in our hearts. Nastaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. If you just go on reading Bhagavatam, it will go. Prayeshu means it will not go fully. It will almost go. Just by reading, nothing else. So that's the blessing that Bhagavatam has given. Rest of it you have to do little endeavor also. You have to serve Prabhupada, you have to do some things. And then it will take care of it. So the process that Srila Prabhupada has given is infallible, it is transcendental, it cannot fail unless we fail miserably in adhering to this process. So take association of Vaishnavas, cooperate with each other, and then we should study and assimilate this Bhagavatam nicely. Then moksha becomes secondary. We develop a positive taste for Krishna consciousness. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.